What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and this is a mod overview of my Hammershot messenger integration, The Awakening. Let me tell you what's going on here with this blaster. Internally, I have the blaster parts kit, obviously with the hammer here. I think it's a 9 kilogram spring inside here. And then I have an out-of-dart 7 dart cylinder in the top there. I have the dead space removed I used a piece of brass to kind of keep the airflow as small as possible through there. I think it was 17/32, and then I hot glued around that to remove that dead space after removing the air restrictor, because you have to remove the air restrictor to put in a 7 dart cylinder like this. And then the messenger has a retaliator spring from Orange Modworks. I think that's 8 kilograms, I believe. And that was installed in here, and so this thing really pops now, the messenger does. And then I added a leather wrap, obviously inspired by Drac. And Drac did a video actually on this when I went down to the SCNC back in March. It was very nice of him to do that. It's a great group of guys down there. I highly recommend their Nerf Club, which is the Southeastern Nerf Club. And I'll put a link to their page, their group page, in the description. And I'll also link Drac's video that he did of this in the description. But this has been upgraded slightly since I was down there. I've added that 7 dart cylinder now, and I've beefed up the performance a little bit of both blasters since then. But yeah, I basically created this to use at pistol rounds at Nerf clubs. So I know they do pistol rounds down in the SCNC, and we also do them here at Naptown Nerf Club. I'll go ahead and link our own club also in the description. If you guys are in the Indianapolis area, I highly recommend you check out that group. We do wars once a month, and they're a lot of fun, great group of people. And the SCNC does something very similar down in Atlanta. They do try to do wars once a month, I believe, also, and then they're a great group of guys. They have tons of people that go to their wars. They usually have probably 40 to 50 people at their wars, and we just got started, but we have a good 20 at least usually that show up to our wars, so that's pretty awesome, and we're continuing to grow, so we would love to have you there. Anyways, I'll go ahead and fire off a couple shots here with the blaster and show you kind of what's going on. So obviously the Hammershot fires with the trigger up front here, and then I kept this trigger working too, and it fires just like that. So I did not link the 2 triggers. There is a person that did this mod before me, and I'll link his video to that in the description also. His is really cool. He actually linked the 2 triggers, so a half trigger pull, I believe, fired the messenger, and then a full trigger pull fired the Hammershot. I kind of wanted the option to shoot one or the other, and I just felt like that wouldn't be quite as reliable, but it is a cool mod, and I think they're both good for different purposes. So maybe in the future I might look into trying to link the 2 if I decide I want to try to do that, but I really do like the ability to just fire this off when I need that shot, and then this one can just be primed, and I'm ready to shoot this whenever. So, and I don't really mind having to pull up my second hand and use this, because I'm not dual wielding usually with this. But if you wanted to use like a dual wielding, then yes, it would be very useful to have only have to use 1 trigger there, obviously. So yeah, the messenger, like I showed just a second ago, the messenger just primes back just like that. I kind of used some epoxy putty here to make this look a little nicer, since I had to cut this off slightly to make it still be able to prime there. And then obviously the Hammershot just primes down like this, and they both fire, one with that and one with this. This is definitely based off of the Star Wars movie. I built this around the same time as the new Star Wars movie came out, and that's why it's named The Awakening. Did a blue side and a red side. So the blue side is the light side, which is written down here, and the red side is the dark side. I used Duplicolor Metallicast paints. This is a the blue version, obviously, and then this is the red version. They have, I don't know how many, I've only seen, I think, blue, red, and purple in person at a store. I've seen other people have other colors, but their paint, that Metallicast paint is really cool. And so to get this effect, I laid down just a vinyl dye base coat, and then you put a chrome base coat, I guess a second base coat over that, and then you lay down your Metallicast on top of that, and that's what gives you that shine. So if you don't do that chrome layer, you don't get this nice shine to it. So also I wanted to give this a worn look, so I used Rub and Buff, and that's what I kind of went over the edges, and that's kind of what gives it this worn look. And then when the, you know, there are some spots that actually the Metallicast has flaked off because it has this. But the one thing that's the downside to the Metallicast that I've found when I've used it is it does seem to flake off a little easier than most paints. But it actually kind of looks pretty cool, especially if you want a worn look. It looks kind of cool. It looks like it's metal flaked off of paint because that chrome layer is underneath. So it gives it a really neat look. And so especially when you hit it with like a rub and buff or some sort of dry brushing effect, it kind of blends in and it looks really nice. Okay, I'm gonna put some shots with the Hammershot over the chronograph, and then I'll do the Messenger second, so we'll get a good average of each blaster. Here we go. It looks like we got 27 shots there, and the average is basically 70. So 70 feet per second with the Hammershot, and now we'll move on to the Messenger. There were 19 shots there. Average is 85 feet per second. All right, I'll do probably about 21 shots with the Hammershot, and we'll do 10 or so with the Messenger. Give you guys an idea what it's doing here. So this did pretty decent, I think, with the shots over the chronograph. I was getting 70 FPS with the Hammershot and 85 with the Messenger on average anyways, and I think that's a pretty decent performing blaster. I mean, you have your pistols basically for shooting people that are closer to you when you need one. So obviously the Hammershot is more for those people up close, and then if you need a little long distance shot, that's what that Messenger's for. So I really like this blaster a lot. I think it's a pretty neat mod, and I highly recommend you guys give it a shot. It was a lot of fun to do, and I'll probably end up doing another one at some point in the future. The ranges, I think the Hammershot was getting about 50 to 60 feet on average. Some of those shots obviously like to drop down, like sometimes it just depends on how it flies through the air, obviously with those Nerf darts. And then the Messenger was doing pretty darn well, getting shots between 65 and 80 feet. So pretty good ranges there from the Messenger, and Hammershot's decent too. So yeah, that's pretty much the overview on the Awakening Blaster there, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.